Hello, my friend, and welcome to my channel. I hope you're doing as well as possible. This session has been requested by you a number of times, and so I wanted to provide a little space for this because I think we all experience worry to some degree or another. Now, obviously, if you experience chronic worry, if you experience an exacerbated sense of worry and fear, anxiety, anything like that, if you experienced depression or if you experience an enormous amount of stress, any of these things, or I think just in general, we could all benefit from therapy, but obviously seeing a mental health care professional would be incredibly important and impactful here. I was just listening to Brené Brown talking about worry and the myths or the fallacies around worry. And one of the myths that we tell ourselves about worry, especially when we're in that worrying vortex, is that it's useful, that it's helpful, and that there's nothing that we can do, that we don't have any control over our lives or over the thing that we are worrying about. And Brené Brown talks about how the most powerful ways of kind of fighting these fallacies that start to creep into our minds are to ask ourselves, is this worth the anxiety that I'm giving it? Like, is it worth the amount of energy, the amount of resources that I'm dedicating to it? And if not, is this helping? Is my worrying, is my fear, is it helping the situation? And if so, if it is, worth worrying about, if it's actually something that is worth those resources, it's actually a really big deal that what you're worrying about, what you're projecting into the future about, then asking yourself the same question, is this worry, is this helpful? And then with the aspect of I can't control my life, there's nothing in my life that I can control, things feel out of my control. Very often there is something that we can do, and if there's not something that we can do, worrying about it usually isn't helpful. So it's a process and a practice. And I think, like most things here, it's a process and a practice of self-inquiry, self-awareness, and presence, releasing that tendency to want to control the moment, control the future. So it's just a practice, and I think we all find it quite challenging. I have a little bit of lavender and frankincense here. So I'm going to spray this in your aura. How are you doing? I hope you're doing really well. I have a question or favor to ask you, I guess. I know that there are a few of you, this is totally off topic, I just want to ask you. I know a few of you are gardeners and farmers, and I would love your advice if you want to give it to me, if you're open to sharing, and if you have any suggestions for this. I have it's kind of a large piece of property and that I live on, and I have a vegetable patch. It's pretty large, and I think it's like 40 by 40, but it's quite far from my little cottage, and I tried to do a rain barrel and kind of haul that over there, but basically it's not really working. It's not pressurized, and it's not really working to keep everything over there irrigated and to be able to water over there. So I've been having to lug huge buckets of water over there, and while it is a really good workout, I'm just wondering if you have any suggestions for having almost like a bare piece of land that you're having to do from scratch. Do you have any suggestions for that? I've looked up pressurized rain barrels and stuff like that, but it's just a whole new world for me, this, and so I would love to hear any suggestions. Ideally, I'd be able to use rainwater, but I'm really open to any of your suggestions if you have any. I don't think that's something I've been worrying about, but that has definitely been something that I think about and at a time was worrying about. And now I've just kind of said, you know what? This is a process. I'm really enjoying the process of learning how to garden on this scale and grow food on this scale. And so I just have to kind of release a lot of this, put into practice the things we're going to be talking about today. But I did figure if there's something I can do is to ask you for any guidance that you might have. Sorry for that ramble. Okay. So we'll just do a few more spritzes here. Thank you in advance for any advice that you have. So a few more spritzes. Outside of your heart, solar plexus, and your root, and your throat. Some of us hold that tension in the throat and the mental plane when we're just on that hamster wheel. I know a lot of you are here because you have a hard time sleeping, so doing our best to really help. Just, I like to say, take off the rucksack of burdens that you might be carrying with you. Just take that off before you enter your bedroom, before you get into bed. Just take off your backpack of burdens, and in that you might find worries, fears, and just for now, just say, I can revisit this later, but for now I'm going to place this beside me. Okay. And this isn't to diminish what you're moving through or invalidate your experience with whatever it is that you're worrying about, but rather that I think Brene Brown talks about how it's never useful. Worry is not helpful. It's not useful. And she also talks about how when you're told not to worry, very often that's another thing you can add to the list of potential things to worry about. But I think right now, if we just want to try to begin engaging in a practice, sort of dedicating ourselves to a practice of asking ourselves these questions. Is my worrying helping this situation? And is this something that I really need to worry about? So, engaging in these two questions might be helpful for you. If it's not and you have something else that you like to use, I would love to hear. I think doing our best to release what we can't control, release those things that are out of our control, which I have come to understand, it's so much greater. That list is so much greater than we think it is. There are so many things that we think we can control, and really, we can't. But that there are things that we can do in our lives, and a lot of things that we can do for our own energy, that we are able to drastically impact the way that we experience a situation. But controlling or changing a situation, very often that's not within our control. What is in our control is changing and really connecting with our own sense of self-awareness and taking accountability for our energy and stepping into our own power with how we are choosing to respond and receive different situations. Okay, I'm just going to get my selenite wands and we'll begin with a little initial clearing, very gentle. Okay. Okay, I'm going to start here at the crown and move down using both of my selenite wands. So if you want to breathe in as we move up and then release, just give me a big sigh on the exhale. If you can, maybe hold some space for whatever you might be worrying about here without delving into the nitty-gritty. And then just do your best to breathe into the presence here. Breathe into this moment. And just see what's available to be released. See what's available here to be released. Maybe it's just a little bit of tension. Maybe it's just a little bit of tension. Okay, I'm going to move through now in the mental plane, kind of coming on either side of your gorgeous head and then moving down like that. So, kind of up by your shoulders and your ears, down and around. Okay, here we go. Up, down and around. Good. And the same. Excuse me. Up, down and around. Good, 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 good. One more time. Up, down, 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 down. Selenite is great for just doing a little, especially a wand like this, but you could use any piece of selenite that you have for just doing a little, kind of combing through the energy body and doing some clearing. If I have something that's really plaguing my mind, some little kernel, something that I'm really anxious about, worried about, then what I like to do, especially if this is happening right before I go to bed or when I'm at home, then I'll take a piece of selenite or selenite wand, just kind of move it through my energy body, down my arms, particularly my receptive hands, and do my best to clear the mental plane, back of my body. Sometimes if my partner's there, I'll have him get my back, but you can kind of do it if you have a big enough wand. And then the bottoms of your feet, kind of kicking up one foot and just kind of brushing along the bottom. And I think this can be really helpful for just a physical clearing, this physical clearing of this energy. And also it's just sort of nice to move your body to get a little bit of flow happening, especially when you have something that's playing on your mind. Another thing I like to do is, if it's an appropriate time, go for a walk, going outside, getting in nature. I think nature is such a vital part of the ecology of our soul. So if you have that available to you, doing that might be helpful. And sometimes even just doing a bit of a shakeout. We talked about shaking out in the emotional regulation video I did recently, but just trying to kind of clear that energy. You can even pull the energy up and flick it away, cast it aside, flick it off your shoulders, go and brush your shoulders off. You can maybe try to do a bit of kind of gentle massage in the back of your neck, in the mouth of God area. Just really connecting with that sense of security and safety. Placing your hands very gently on your hips, maybe with a few mantras like, "This is really tough, but so am I," or "I've survived everything that I've been through thus far," or "I'm safe." Simply, "I'm safe, I'm secure, I'm protected, I'm held." Sometimes little things like that can be helpful. So if any of these you find helpful, or if one of these you find helpful, then that'll make me really happy. I'm going to use a little bit of oil on my hands. Let's take a few deep, rejuvenating breaths here together. And if you're open to it, start to imagine that this inhale is this beautiful, cool, blue, glimmering light entering in on your inhale. It swirls around your body, and then it pours out through your heels, through the bottoms of your feet. And if you're not a very visual person, just feel that sensation of the air coming in and then moving out. Just try and connect with that sensation. Focusing on the inhalations. Maybe you might want to count how long it takes for you to take a full breath in and release. Full disclosure, the reason that I like using oil and cream in my videos is because I love listening to the sound when I'm editing, and because I love putting oils and creams on my hands and on my skin. So it's very selfish of me. But I know you've been enjoying it. Most of you, I think. I haven't had any of you saying that you don't like it. So that's cool, because it is very selfish of me. I'm going to spray a little bit of this in here too. Just so we're getting the added benefit of this lovely frankincense and lavender aura mist. Okay. So on your next comfortable inhale, just breathe in this scent. Good. Okay. So let's just do a little scan here. And start to ask ourselves, what's going on? What's going on in the throat, the face, the jaw? Are we holding any tension? And this is something you can do on your own, you know? If you're starting to feel a lot of tension, a lot of anxiety, just start to connect with where you might be holding it. I believe when we have anxiety and worry, and we're really in one of those chasms of deep worry and projection into the future, I believe it does manifest itself on a physical level, on an energetic level, on an emotional level. I believe there are imprints of this energy because so much of our resources are used up when we are focusing on the future. And there's a time for that, right? Like there's definitely a time when thinking about the future, planning, that's really important. That's how we do a lot of the things that we do in society, in our lives. But there's a time and a place, and when you're trying to fall asleep and you feel like your mind is just running amok, that's not the time and place, and it's not useful. So we just want to start to invite a little bit of agency here, and I think the best way to do that is to invite self-awareness, gentleness, sense of care for ourselves. We all go through this, and it's very natural, and it's also so human to want, to think about the future and to think, how can I prevent pain or bad things from happening or whatever it might be. It's totally natural. But I think the most powerful thing we can do is develop a practice of presence. And however you can unlock that for yourself, whether that's through visualizations, breath work, whether that's through listening to meditations or doing a distance Reiki session, however you can connect with that self-inquiry, a gentleness, deep love and affection for self, long practice. However you can do that, I think we should start to try. Just start to seek out what this might be, the key to unlock this kind of work, and the key to your personal practice. Movement, flow. I know a lot of people connect with yoga. I love swimming. I love walking. I love doing like high intensity workouts. I love yoga. I love Tai Chi. So I think it's just really important and Qigong. I think it's really important to find something that works for you, find something that you connect with. Sound therapy, crystals, essential oils, aromatherapy of any kind. And start to engage in this practice and set yourself up. Okay, are you noticing tension in your shoulders, your upper back, throat? I very often hold that tension in my throat. I know many of you do as well. Chest, heaviness on your chest perhaps. Just start to see if there's any space for a melting, for something to just kind of melt. Tara Brach talks about the tension in our shoulders turning from ice to water, water to gas. So just seeing if there's anything that you're able to just release with a gentleness, In the tummy, do you maybe have a lot of tension, tummy tension, maybe some indigestion, maybe some issues in the tummy when you start to worry? That feeling of helplessness when we start to cast ourselves into the future, that can really impact our solar plexus. I think it can really impact all kinds of things in our physical bodies. And in our root, in the bowl at the base of your torso, are you experiencing maybe any lower back pain, anything in the hips, any tension in this space? So just start to practice this self-discovery, and I know a lot of you engage in this anyway. Just being kind to ourselves and really doing our best to connect with a deep sense of care for ourselves. I'm going to place my hands on your let me see if you can hear that. It sounds like they're doing some construction work. So hopefully you can't, but if you can, just try to practice an inner sense of peace and calm. Inner sense of peace and calm. So just placing my hands outside of your hips here, a little bit lower, kind of in between your hip and your thigh area. And then just allowing this beautiful, cooling energy, this glimmering blue light that has this very cooling energy just coming in through my palms and passing back and forth with you in the center. Inviting a sense of flow, just a sense of cooling down, particularly here in the base. Cooling down, cooling the space. Feel free to place your hands here and be that surrogate here as we're doing this kind of work. I'm going to place my hands on your solar plexus here, just a few inches above your belly button. Just drawing a few symbols outside of your solar plexus. This cooling energy is floating up from your base through your sacral, now cooling the solar plexus, just cooling this area. Now I'm going to hover my hands outside of your heart center here, cooling the space, cool glimmering light coming in through my palms, floating into your heart center. And I think a big part of releasing is about trusting and about allowing and inviting. We've talked about this concept of when I open my hands, and I like the best way to kind of capture sand is not to grab a fistful of sand and hold it as tight as you can, because then it'll just pour out from your fingers, but rather to place your hand open and trust that the wind will bring sand to your hand, and it might take some sand away, but if you are open to receive, you will always have sand in your hands. It's a great metaphor for just trusting and allowing. Easier said than done, right? And give yourself some grace. I'm going to place my hand behind your neck here, just at the base of your skull and the nape of your neck, and I'm going to place my hand hovering outside the front of your neck, your throat here. So just hovering here outside of your throat. I'm not touching you in the front here, not touching your throat or your neck, but I am touching the nape of your neck here in the back. Just sending this beautiful cooling energy into your throat. And you can continue to do that breathing that we were doing. Continue to do that deep breathing. Now placing my hands on the very crown of your head here. Just sending this cool blue light into your crown. You are divine. You are connected. You are expressive. You are loved. You are strong. You are emotionally balanced. You are safe. You are safe. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day or night. Thank you so much for subscribing. It's been pretty crazy. I'm just really honored that you're here and that you've been finding these sessions in some way helpful. I hope so. Thank you so much. And yeah, that really means the world to me. And it's a real boost. Helps me to understand that you like the content I'm creating. So really, thank you. I see all of you. And I just want to thank you. And I also want to thank you for I have a tip jar, and there's no way that I can thank you when I see that. So I just want to take the time to say thank you here. Thank you for that. Your support of this channel is really so humbling, and I'm incredibly honored to be able to connect with you. It's one of my great joys. So thank you. Okay. All right. Until we meet again, be so well. For today's video, I just wanted to do a little chakra activation and just doing a little bit of balancing and aligning. But this is a new kind of video for me. I usually, speak directly to the collective instead of the individual, so that always happens when I'm trying to do it
Perspective. Maybe your perspective on things is a little clouded at the moment. I'm not sure if that resonates with you, but that's what I'm getting here.
But just sort of being aware of what is coming in so that we can be more prepared to make that decision. I love metallic sounds. This clicky clacky sounds. But it does have kind of a funny smell. I'm not gonna lie, when I first used it, I was like, what is that? But amethyst is a really great spiritually aligned stone. It can help with clarity, mental fog, really helps us see